Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are jumping in with Love is Blind. So again, no hot goss, no ads, no nothing. Only thing I will say is Patreon, join, links in the show notes. Let's get into it. So, Season 8, Episode 1, I Have a Husband. So we got the Lachey's here to tell the women and the men what's the deal, what's up. We got more people this season, and we do have someone who has not been in a relationship before, who we will meet a little closer. But now the pods are open. The pods are pretty, bright colors. I like it. Anyway, we meet Daniel, who is a quote-unquote short king. He's 5'8". I don't really classify that as a short king, but anyways. He talks to Taylor. He's kind of says like he wants family. She's down for that. He has 2 siblings. And one of his siblings, his sister, was born blind. So we then move on from Taylor, and we see him talking, or we move on with Taylor, I should say, and we see her talking to Brad. She is a GI nurse, and she says, if you need a colonoscopy, I'm your girl. We then meet Brittany. Brittany. Not Brittany. Brittany. And I wrote she must be Jamaican because that's something Jamaicans do. Anyways, she talks to Devin, and she mentions that she played basketball. He also plays basketball. He's like, maybe we can have like a love basketball type situation. Love that movie. He's 28 and she is 34, but that doesn't seem to deter him or anything because he has dated older women before. And yeah, then we see Devin talking to Virginia. He says that he has over 100 pairs of sneakers. That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary. Why do you need so many? Why are black men like this? Anyways, she is 33, so still older. And they apparently went to the same high school, obviously at different times. She is also in healthcare, and she also loves basketball, so they connect on that as well. Then we are with Virginia, and we see her talking to Joey, and she says she just ran her very first marathon. Congratulations. Not me, not I. Joey, who is our long-haired guy, he says he's like a golden retriever. And we see him talking to Monica. She says that she loves music, everything but country. And he's like, yeah, I don't like country either. And then we just start like making fun of country music. As my mom would say, there's a tear in my beer type ragging on country. It's funny. But he says he loves dancing. He apparently used to swing dance, or he does swing dance. She used to swing dance. And they both are close with their families. And he did have a sister who passed away when he was 16. But he says, I'm not going to talk about it now. We could talk about that later. So, yeah, we then kind of learn a little bit about Monica. She tells us the story of when she was with a guy, and I guess she was kind of house sitting for him when he went on vacation or something, and then he just randomly came back, and he was like, I'm done with you. That is some shit. And we see her talking to Dave, and Dave likes to ask all of the women, so what's wrong with you? That's rude. There's a way in which to ask, why are you here? Then what's wrong with you? He says that I am on Love is Blind because I have been and asked women, well, you haven't really improved since being here. He's okay. He has been around a lot of Botox, a lot of things that he says he created the belief of a woman should look like, and a very, um, surface level way of thinking. And he talks to Lauren, who he says, "Oh, so you're over 30? You're probably unattractive now." He's kidding, but damn. And she is a teacher. He does tell her, I have been a very shallow guy because of my profession, which is the Botox and everything. So, at least he has some intra. He's looked internally, and that's good. So we do learn a little bit more about Lauren. Can I just say, right off the bat, I really like Lauren, like really do. Then we are with Dave and Molly. Molly is our girl who's never been in a relationship, and she tells them as such. And she says, I've had situationships, pretty much, but nothing that's actually been solidified. He says he hasn't been in many relationships himself. He does kind of talk about the fact that he went to Catholic school um, throughout until high school. And she says, yeah, same with me. And I said, me too. His mom, he does mention, passed away 6 years prior. She had stage 4 breast cancer, and she did live another 10 years after that diagnosis. But, he says that he really likes Molly so far, so great. Then we go back to the quarters, and they're all just powwowing about their dates and the people they've met, and it's great. We then see this random guy named Scott, who we're probably never seeing again, eating a banana. That wasn't necessary. Now, it's the next day, and we meet Madison, who I don't know anything about, but from what I can see on the news and stuff like that, she's, I think, a force that I think is going to be reckoned with. So we meet Alex, which is one of the guys that Madison talks to, and he says that he was, in his words, unattractive when he was younger, and he says that um while he's talking to his name, sorry, getting confused here. No, I'm good. So yeah, he's talking to Madison, and Madison just kind of talks about, I lived in Paris, and then I lived in Jordan. I learned how to speak Arabic, and she kind of first asked about like him, and like immediately switched to, oh, this is what I did. So I'm like, ooh, but it's okay. Right now, she seems fine, and she does kind of say, do you like to travel? He says yes, he does. And she says that she wants people to feel safe with her. She does say that maybe the reason for that is because she did have a rough childhood. She says that her parents had her at 19. They were surrounded by drugs. Her mom then got remarried, or marriage, say just generally married, to her stepdad. And he ended up dying when she was in 8th grade due to an overdose. The relationship with her mom is, not the greatest, but she is close with her brother and sister. And he says, yeah, well, my childhood wasn't the greatest, not for nearly close to the same reasons that you dealt with, like, but for him, he says that he was bullied. He would be beat up. They would push his lunch tray off of the table. and he would have to, like, go eat by himself in the washroom. He had really bad ADHD, and he actually failed high school, pretty much. He says, "And academia is really important in my family." So his parents were disappointed in him, and they ended up kicking him out of the house because that's the right way to handle things, especially when you have a child who has ADHD. Like, maybe that's part of the reason why. Maybe you could have gotten him help. Like, I don't know, but it's just like, what is happening? And I really like him and I fell for him and I want him to be happy, whatever that happiness is. And she does say, you know, she was also bullied. She says because maybe she was like the artsy girl and could have made her a target. And she is a painter. And she says that, or he says that she is on top of his list. And she feels the same, but she's like, oh, maybe I should have told you that so soon or whatever. But yeah, then we see Madison talking to this other guy named Mason. This is this cinematographer, and he was a skater boy. She said, see you later, boy. He wasn't good enough for her. Now in the studio. Okay. And he does talk about the fact that he had a brother that died in a car accident back in 2022, I believe. But they're definitely clicking, Madison and Mason. So then we see Mason with this girl named Meg. She's a lot. She's a lot. They talk about aliens. Are they friendly or not? And then she starts talking about Joe Rogan, and I'm like, wait a minute, doesn't he suck? Like, don't we not like him? Apparently, she listens to his podcasts, and she sounds very conspiracy theorist. And she's like, I believe in ghosts. That's fine. Nothing against her believing in ghosts. And she says that she's not very religious. Her parents are, and they tell her she's going to hell. And I'm like, oh God, they might be like some sort of, I don't know, just, yeah. And it's like, not everyone's going to hell. Really. I mean, do I believe there is a hell? I was brought up to believe so, but it's just like, she's not going to hell because she believes in aliens or something. She's not. She, as long as you're a good person, you know? I mean, hell, even then, I think hell is really preserved for those people like serial killers or child rapists, people like that. Anyway, the next day, Molly says, I do not like The Exorcist. When you're raised in Catholicism, you're raised to believe that that can happen, which is probably the reason why I don't watch it either. Although I did watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose, or partially did, and I thought it was hilarious. Um, but yeah, and David feels that as well. And they kind of talk about the fact that she likes to kind of alternate like who's in the lead and who's kind of following. And they also talk about like things in the bedroom. She's open to everything or anything at least once. And he says, well, I'm teachable. So okay, great. Then we have David and Lauren, and she says, oh yeah, my dad's name is Dave, actually. Hold on to that because there's another couple that says this later. Anyway, his sister was not thrilled that he was actually coming on this show. actually have the nerve to say that those girls are not good enough for you. What girls? You don't know who's going to be on the show. Like, how can you just make a blanket statement because you've seen other seasons where you feel that these women wouldn't be good enough for your brother? I feel like every season is its own thing, depending on where you are. And so depending on where you are, you're going to get people who are just more concerned with the cloud of everything. You know, that's not a very nice thing to say. So then we have Dave and Taylor, and she's, poor thing, losing her voice. But they are definitely feeling each other. Then he talks about Christmas cards and how he does these extravagant Christmas cards. And this is something that he kind of wants to continue, make this as a tradition for his family. And she says that she's down to do this. And she says she actually loves Christmas. And she loves it so much that she put up 4 Christmas trees up in her 1 bedroom apartment. Then we have Devin and Brittany. She loves cheese. She made some good mac and cheese. And he's like, I'm going to challenge you on that because I make good mac and cheese. That's about it. Then we have Devin with Virginia. And she says that I used to be in a group called the Future Destiny's Child. Wow. Then we have Joey and Monica. Her favorite movie, Sound of Music, The Hills Are Alive. I'm not going to sing loud with the sound. Okay. But he says, well, shit, that's my favorite movie. Or at least, I don't know if that's really his favorite movie, but a movie he's been thoroughly exposed to because I think he said his grandma really liked The Sound of Music. So he loves it. And y'all, his Minnesotan accent is thick. So, yeah, so he says that. And they kind of, it's like that one song when they're on the hill about the doe, the deer, the female deer, right? A drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself. Fa, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, T, a drink of jam of bread. And that will bring us back to do, oh, oh, oh. Don't challenge me with a good time. Come on. And then she says, on the hill was a lonely goat herd, who. Okay. Anyway, at least no one said Edelweiss because that would have been a problem. Oops, I just did. Anyways, no, not doing it. So he does talk about the fact that his mom wasn't good with money, which kind of, I guess, encouraged him to be better with money. And he said that I kind of taught myself how to invest and all of that. And he says he bought his first property when he was 27. And he said, I kind of did this because I wanted to ensure that I had a place that my mom could be in if in case she had nowhere to go. I think like it's that bad with her money. Because he also says that he opened up a retirement fund, a separate retirement fund for his mom. Jeez. Then we have Dave with Lauren. Her and her friends got matching tattoos that said FTP, which stands for Fuck the Patriarchy. I like her so much. Then he says that his dad ended up selling his childhood home 2 years ago after the passing of his mom, which that was, I believe, 5 or 6 years before, like 6 years ago. So took him a bit to do it. And he said that he didn't go to kind of say his goodbye to the home, which he kind of wishes he kind of did. Like he kind of realizes maybe I probably should have. And yeah, because when you have that home that is in your heart and your mind, and this was home, and especially when you're really young, um, it's something you need to do. Because the home that I lived in when I was a kid up until 9, I wish I got to say goodbye to the house and just, I it wasn't much, but it was home, and feel like that's something I would definitely have to do when it came to my grandparents' home as well, because that's the only home that I know of from them, so it's just like, you kinda need to. It's a crazy thing, but, like, you kinda need to. So, then he is on his next date with Molly, and she tells him that she has an ass tattoo, just on the side of the ass, like, you can see it. The next day, Molly this is when the drama happens. Molly, Madison, and Lauren are kind of talking kind of about, whatever. And Molly kind of is like, I do know he's talking to somebody else. And I do think I know who it is. And she thinks it's Sarah, not realizing that it's actually Lauren. And when they're kind of talking, Lauren kind of wasn't really in that part yet because she was talking to Madison. And Lauren was kind of like, "Oh, what are we talking about?" And she says, "Yeah, I think like, who I'm talking to." And she's like, "Oh, who are you talking to then?" And she tells her Dave, and Laura's like, "Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah, okay." And she's literally like shitting a brick. I would be, but yeah, that is episode 1. We are going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will jump in with episode 2. Okay, so episode 2, which is going to be our final episode of this episode. So this one's titled Open Hearts, Open Minds, and something else that I can't read. I can't remember my writing. So let's get into it. So Taylor's dad's name is also Daniel. Wasn't there someone else in this episode that also said that their dad's name was the guy's name or whatever the hell? Anyway, she talks about her dad and says that he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Um, and I think he's still alive, I believe. She also talks about the fact that her favorite food is Taco Bell. She loves Taco Bell so much that she actually got a tattoo in the inner part of her lip. Can I just say something? Listen, do what you want. You want to put a tattoo in the inner part of your lip? Fine. What's the point? For 2 reasons. No one sees it, and as she says, it fades faster because saliva. Like, what's the point? I'm just curious. Anyways, now we are starting to get introduced to Sarah, who is someone we saw in the first episode. I don't know if we're going to see her a lot, but we are seeing her in this moment anyways. She says that she kind of has no real type. She'll date anybody, anything, whatever. We see her talking to Ben, and it looks like the appliance that she likes to use for cooking is her air fryer. Great. They talk about religion. He is religious to a point. She's not. She talks about her sister, who is a lesbian, and she says, like, this is kind of, for her, the reason she doesn't quite understand religion. Like, the fact that, especially Catholicism, Christianity, or almost really most, don't accept her, or would accept anyone in the queer community. And I mean, yes, but, and I understand what she's getting at, but she also says, like, would you feel comfortable with her around? And it's like, religion doesn't stop people from accepting. There are some that don't, for sure, but not all of us. Um, you are, live your life, and you should be able to be happy while doing so, and I think that's the thing that matters the most. So, yeah, so she asked, like, "Would you feel comfortable being around her, going to Pride," essentially, and he says that, you know, that's not a problem. Yes, I'm religious, but, like, I'm not, like, not an asshole. And he says, religion or religious, it just has this connotation, right? So he says he prefers to use the word faith. I have my faith. It just sounds, and it's, again, I think that's something that even I say, that I have my faith, which is, you don't really think about it, but it's true. It just has a different sound, feeling, meaning behind it. He says that he does go to church every week, though. And um, he says that he would prefer his partner to also go to church with him, which he says the word prefer. He doesn't say it's a requirement, but it's, I don't know, especially with this person, which you just literally said that she's not. I think this is, I don't think this is going anywhere. I don't think we're going to see much of them after this, but he does say, like, even though he would prefer that there would be, like, no pressure for her to convert or anything like that, which she does like the sound of that, but would she even be willing to walk into a church? She does say that she would go to a church that accepts everybody. But also, would he be willing to change parishes? Like, like, it's I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see much of them. In the women's quarters, Lauren is struggling with the whole Molly Dave relationship of it all, which is understandable. And she is questioning Molly's intentions on telling her. Now, if you remember, Molly did kind of say that, I think Dave is talking to Sarah. And I don't know if Sarah is talking to Dave. Like, we see her talking to this other guy, but I don't know if she's feeling a connection with Dave as well. And Dave hasn't mentioned anything about Sarah. So if there was any discussion between him and Sarah, it's long done. He has these two. Obviously, it's not Sarah, but obviously she knows it's somebody. And that's why maybe she told Lauren, especially if they're kind of friends. She thinks that it's not, her. So I don't think she told Lauren with any ill will, but at the same time, it's like everyone is trying to keep their cards close to the chest. Why are you telling anybody who you're talking to? Because it can pose problems. Seriously, I'll say this. I feel like since season, was it 4, with Arena and, what's her name again? Can't remember her name. Was with Paul. I I feel like since that season, everyone's very careful what they tell each other, but it's just like, why did you have to say anything? It just, yeah. Anyway, so she does question the intentions. She does go into the pod, and I thought, like, she was going to go in there to kind of say to him, what the hell? Without obviously saying anything, because it's not his fault that Molly opened her big ass mouth, really, just and said anything. It's not his fault. But I do feel, especially after watching, I was kind of questioning it with the first episode as well, seeing his interactions with these two women. One minute he's saying, oh my God, I don't want to cancel the other date and stay with you, Lauren. Oh God, I don't want to cancel my other date and just stay with you, Molly. And it feels like, I mean, and again, you're allowed to feel that way, but it feels like he's playing the field, that he's playing a game. I don't know whether or not he's serious. I wanna trust he is, but it's just I don't know. And honestly, I don't know who I think the better choice is for him. I really like Lauren, so it's hard for me, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know. The I don't know. I'm trying to remember everyone's conversations, but I feel like there is this sexual connotation between him and Molly, which is fine. But I think like Love is Blind is more than that. And if I see you talking like that, like, Sarianne and your Amy's of it all, you know what I mean? And we all know how that turns out. So she talks to him about her fears, which is legitimate, of not being picked at the end of this, opening herself up to this person and not being picked, which if he does that to my girl, I'm coming for him because I really like her. So he tells her, you made my day yesterday. Like, he's like, we put us into, he's like, you made my day yesterday. Okay, I believe him, I think. And he says, my other connection, she's also fun. But again, it's like, okay, fun is great. Like, are you saying Laura's not fun? I don't know. But like, fun is fine in conjunction with other things. You need to have the fun, but you also need to have the seriousness. You have to have the laid back aspects of the relationship, but then you also have to show up. Like, you need every facet of that. And unfortunately, yes, he says he hasn't been in a lot of relationships. She has had none. And the thing is like, I would be questioning myself, especially when we're talking about marriage. And we've seen it before many times, people who haven't had a relationship, it doesn't fucking work. We've seen it with Married at First Sight, we're seeing it here. It doesn't work because they just don't know what they're getting themselves into. You're jumping from being single, not having a quote unquote relationship, real, actual relationship, to marriage. Like, what is happening? Then we start talking about his playlists. So we kind of jump from the seriousness to this fun aspect. Oh, my playlist, and whatever. Which, okay, is fine, but it's like, can we get back to that? Because that's an important conversation to be having. But anyways, y'all, he has a sex playlist, so that's that. Um, he says that he's really, um, or sorry, she asks him, like, what's your deepest, darkest secret? He tells her his deepest, darkest secret is that he's really into her. Well, why does it have to be a deepest, darkest secret? Why does it have to be a secret? I feel like in this situation that eventually those secrets have to come to light, you know? Anyway, I don't know, it's just the deepest, darkest part of it. Anyways, and then he says this line that is like, okay, my guy, for real, for real. But at the same time, it made me chuckle because for my Scream fans out there, he literally says, my sister's gonna be so mad at me. Like, I swear to God, it was the funniest thing because all I could think about is Stu Macher just being like, hello? My parents are gonna be so mad at me. They have to work that into the movie somehow. I don't know how when he's like 40. Moving on. So then Dave's next date is with Molly, and they both like to have fun, which again, there's that fun. There needs to be more. She tells him, short of murdering someone, like there's nothing that you could do that would like deter me So, unlike Tiger Lily, who's like, if you're like a serial killer, like, I'd still love you because you're my husband and like whatever, and like I'm stupid. So yeah, um, she at least has some morals, some boundaries. And he tells her that I was having a hard time yesterday. This is part for me. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, what? So let me go back. He tells her I was having a hard time yesterday after our date. I felt better. So wait a minute. Weren't you literally just telling Lauren that you are loving this day, you don't want to end this day and want to cancel my other day because I don't want to leave you. You made my day, all of this shit. And we know Lauren's date was before Molly's. So now you're saying that it was so tough yesterday. And then, I had my date with you. And then, it has made it better. Don't fucking lie to these women in order to make yourself feel better or whatever the hell. It's unnecessary. Keep it 100 with both of them on where you stand in their relationship with you and the other's relationship with you without necessarily going into detail. This I don't like. It's giving me, what's that guy's name that was into was it AD? Not AD. The one, this was actually, oh no, we did have the one with AD, and then we also have the guy from UK as well, which I don't remember his name, and that's okay. I don't remember our other names, and that's okay. I think the one there was Matthew. It was definitely Matthews with AD. Anyway, it's giving me those vibes without being that narcissistic, that manipulative, but still, it has an air to it. Because I'm just like, wait, what? That is not what you said to her yesterday, or Lauren yesterday. And that is not what you said to Lauren before you had this date today with Molly. What is happening here? He tells her that my last relationship ended because I cheated, and he does regret doing that. Does he, though? Does he? I mean, maybe yes, you can sit back and be like, shit, I do regret that. And I don't say that that's not the case, but his last relationship, and I think he's only been single for a couple of years. And Molly, again, I feel like Lauren would have more questions. Maybe she wouldn't judge him, but she would have a little more questions. Molly says okay, oh well. I would at least have questions. I'm not gonna judge you. I'm not gonna say, oh, you can't change. I'm not gonna say that. But I am gonna have questions. What made you do it? Why? How long did it go on for? Did you tell her? What happened? Blah blah blah. Did you try to I want to know things to understand why you did it. So then it will help me understand, not necessarily what I could do to make sure you don't, because it doesn't matter what you do or don't do, but to at least be aware that you're capable of it. I want to have questions. When she doesn't ask questions. Instead, what she does say, though, is that she herself has, and again, no judgment because I'll admit I've been there too. She does say that she obviously hasn't cheated necessarily because she hasn't been in a relationship, but she says that she has been a participant in a man cheating on his girlfriend. They apparently had history, and I can give her the benefit of the doubt here, um, because she says she kind of has this, I guess, hope or belief, whether the belief and hope was in her own head or the belief and hope was external, but she had this that maybe something could have happened between them. So that's why she did it. So that again, without asking, she's offering the information, which helps him have context I have context as the viewer, but I don't have context on him. And she also doesn't have it. So I'm just like, okay, I want that from him too. But anyways, um, then we move on to Joey and Monica, who was just the heart of this right now. And they're just having a dance party. Then we hear him, or hear her, I should say. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna blow my nose now. And she just starts blowing her nose. I'm like, did I have to hear it too? Anyways, she talks about her grandma. This is so sweet. She talks about her grandma who does have dementia. And she says, like, she doesn't remember her husband, her grandfather. She doesn't remember her husband's name, doesn't remember him. But without fail, she'll say, okay, grandma, it's time to go to bed. And her grandma will say, oh, wait, I have to go kiss my husband, even though she doesn't even remember him. And I thought that is the sweetest thing. It's just it's not even about your brain. It's just your body. This is like, I gotta go do this because this is what I've been doing. I think that's incredible. And she does mention that she is in between jobs, and I think she kind of feels shame about that. And Joey's just incredible in this moment and just kind of says, like, don't feel ashamed for the fact that you are in between jobs. Never let anyone else make you feel ashamed for being in between jobs, although shit happens. Shit happens. And I don't know the reason behind it, but especially if the reason is because of this damn show, like, don't feel ashamed. Like, this too shall pass kind of situation. So then we have Madison and Alex, who's my favorite guy. They're on a date, and he says, you have a voice of an angel. Okay. They both like to cuddle, but they both run hot, so that could be a problem. Listen, y'all, I know she's trouble. I just haven't gotten there yet. Just finished episode 2. Going on episode 3. So I don't know what's going on in Madison yet, but I'm starting to see some red flags with her, but not quite yet. We'll get to it. Then she has her date with Mason, and we talk about Halloween costumes. So this is going to be a running theme for Mason. I guess he really likes Halloween, which is fine. I love Halloween too. But he really has this thing of asking his dates or the women he's talking to, would you dress up as hell? What's your favorite Halloween costume? I don't know the motive for asking this question because he is going to ask the question later, just happens a little later from now. And I'm just like, what's going on? But yes, he does ask, like, what is your favorite Halloween or your favorite Halloween costume you ever had? And she says that she dressed up as a mixture of, I can't remember what she said actually, but she does kind of talk about this stuffy she has. It's like it's like a bear alien. She calls it bearlian or balien or whatever the hell. And, um, and with patience, she says that she had like a duo costume. And then he talks about the movie Her, which again is a running theme between his women, is him talking about Her, um, which I haven't seen, I've heard of, but he's talking about it. And again, it gives me the vibes of last year with, what was his name again? See, once you're out of my life, I don't remember your name anymore. He was with, like, we didn't get them on the show, and I'm like, that was a disservice. Him, where he's like, oh my God. Oh my God. What was his fucking name? Shoot. So I don't remember his name, that's all I need. But anyway, whatever his name was, he would constantly talk about the same thing with all of the girls that he was talking to, like with Hannah and the other one that he was talking to. Again, don't remember her name either. But it was just like, gives me those vibes a little bit but again, a much nicer person in comparison to him. Um, but it was just like, okay. all right, this is weird. But, so yeah, with her, he says, like, he's like, his favorite movie, which I heard was not a good movie. Did not hear it was a good movie, but he likes it. And then he's talking with Meg, and her real name actually is Margaret, y'all. But anyways, Meg, they talk about pet names, and, he likes Babe, and she likes Baby Girl or whatever. And she very much talks about, like, very detailed, this fantasy that she's had about moving into a home with her partner, ordering, you know, Chinese, and just sitting on the floor eating Chinese food with boxes all around you, then having sex on the floor. And I'm like, I feel like you saw this in a movie once. I swear to God, I feel like I've actually watched this in a movie once. That's not a fantasy. There's a scene out of a movie that you watch. Like, and again, it's just which is okay, very whatever. But it's just like, come on. Not even pizza, Chinese. Anyways, so he says, "You are like an AI robot." I'm like, "Oh no, here he goes. About to bring up her." And then he's like, "Let me be Her." But this time, because Madison had never seen the movie, this time she's like, "Oh my God, that's such a good movie." He's like, "You're the Scarlett Johansson." And they both love Inception. Like, "Oh my God, you love Inception too? That's your top movie? Oh my God." Like, I feel like that's not really much of a stretch. I feel like I've never seen Inception. I didn't care. But it's just like, I don't feel like that's like a huge stretch for people to like the movie Inception. Apparently, it's an incredible movie. So, okay. They like the weird ones, but who cares? And they're both like, "Yeah, I love Chris Nolan." And I'm just like, again, not a huge stretch. Christopher Nolan is a very reputable, great at his job director. So, I mean, I feel like that's not a stretch. And again, I feel like it's not hard to watch a Christopher Nolan movie. He is, after all, Christopher Nolan. And then he keeps saying, "You're not real. You're not real." She's like, "There's a real person over here. I'm not an AI robot." Like, jeez. Then we see Devin and Virginia, not a lot here. She apparently, and I don't know if this was actually like a joke, but I think she may possibly have been serious, that she likes wearing, or she wore a lot of heels in high school. And I'm like, why? I mean, I had like these like platform heels that I had in high school, and I went to a Catholic school, so you could buy like these, and I left those heels, but I would wear those. Y'all, I must have only worn that, like, I don't know, the first couple of weeks of grade 9. Like, it didn't, one then once in a while, throughout, but it's just like, nah, that didn't keep happening. Once you can find a black pair of sneakers, you make it work. So, yeah. She's like, "I've never dated a nice guy before," which is really sad. I mean, Devin seems like a nice guy, but it's really sad to hear her say, "I've never dated a nice guy before." It's like, oh, Jesus, who hurt you? Anyways, then we get Brittany and Devin, and again, I don't think there's a whole lot with them either. And she says that her dad does know that she's here, I think, or doesn't. I don't remember if she said doesn't know or does know, but anyway, they kind of talk, "Oh, yeah, like it's," oh no, she says he doesn't know that she's there because he will tell everybody. Again, must be Jamaican. Must be Jamaican people love to talk people's business. Must be Jamaican. Anyways, so she's like, "Yeah, Willie will just tell everybody." He's like, wait a minute. Your dad's name's Willie?" "Yeah." He's like, "My dad's name Willie." Like, is it Willie or William? She's like, "No, it's Willie." He's like, "My dad's just Willie." "Yeah, my dad's a junior." "My dad's a junior." He's like, "We got the same dad, do we?" He's like, well, I'm going to assume no because we don't have the same last name, so it should be fine. Jeez, small world. And then can I also, or I'll say this after. She does talk about her mom and how her mom was kind of very protective, kind of even overly protective. She kind of only wanted her children, I guess, to listen to non-secular music. Apparently they asked for Lil Wayne's album at some point, and mom was like, nope, because she suspected that for people who don't know, back in the day, you were able to sample an album before buying it by wearing these headphones over your ears that everyone else also did. And you could play samples of some of the songs on that said album and before you purchase it. You could have this happen anywhere you went. Walmart, Future Shop, Best Buy, all the places. Radio Shack, maybe, I don't know. You can do some all the places, right? And I would love going to that section of the store and just listening to the even if we weren't even in that section, I still made my way there. And usually 9 times out of 10, my mom knew where to find me. And that's where I would go. Gone are those days. Now, that section of the place wouldn't have survived COVID. Moving on. So yes, she suspects her mom did listen to that and it was like, nope. The other thing I need to mention here too, which I don't know why we're doing this, why this fashion style has made its comeback or something, but the sock shoe combination that she has going on literally makes her look like she's 8 years old. That's something that I was doing at 8 years old. I don't like it. It just makes you look juvenile a little bit. Like, I don't like it. Anyways, moving on. Joey likes penguins. Same. And he loves that they are one of the only animals that are monogamous. So monogamous that we know is that they usually give rocks to their partner. Um, I think it's cute. And just out of nowhere at this point, I wasn't expecting this. I did not think that we were going to go from talking about penguins being monogamous and giving rocks to him going down on one knee and proposing. I wasn't expecting this. I'm like, wait. It's episode 2. We're already doing this? I wasn't expecting this. I feel like, again, I was like halfway through. I'm like, what is happening? I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared. Am I the only one? I wasn't prepared. But he proposes. He gets down on a knee and he proposes. And she says yes. And we have our first couple. So we will talk about predictions for them after the reveal, because we do see the reveal at the end of this episode, after the reveal in episode 3, so we'll talk about it there. Or do I usually do at the end once we have all the couples, so we'll talk about predictions at that point, whenever that episode is, because I don't know. So then now we have Alex and Madison on their date, and buckle up guys, it's gonna be a while. She says that she is not a yeller. She's like, I'm just not physically capable of yelling. I said, girl, we're all capably able to yell. Even if you think you can't, we all do. But anyways, she does say though, which I think is obviously understandable, that she says that with the childhood that she had, the dynamic and the atmosphere that she was raised in, that she just doesn't want to be like that, which is, I totally get that. She does ask him if he's ever cheated on anybody, and he says no. It's just, really? Because I feel like anyone I've asked, I said yes. Yes, but Alex is a different person. Alex is a kind of person who knows what it feels like to be hurt has gone through life not always being accepted. So what he is not going to do is fuck up something where he feels accepted. He's a different breed. There's not many men like him, but he's one of the best. One of the good ones. Like, for real, for real. When you say he's one of the good ones, he really is one of the good ones. Don't break him, because I'll break your face. Anyways, so, but she says, like, she has been cheated on before multiple times. I am curious, though, she has cheated, because what she does say is that I've been cheated on, but she doesn't say I've cheated. Because I do wonder, but I mean, she is opening up on other things, so maybe she's never cheated. I'm just putting it out there. He does ask a really good question though, and kind of says, um, um, like, whether or not her being cheated on has affected her relationships in the sense of, do you trust, or do you kind of, or like, have you worked through that, or have you not worked through that? And she says, like, I do trust you until I have a reason to not trust you, which is great. But she also does say, because they kind of talk about attachment um styles, and she does say that she is more of a detached person, that she's the kind of person who may run away from situations, which is triggering for him, because he said, I have felt at times that I am not good enough. So the last thing I want is to feel in this moment that I am not good enough. So he says, I do think that our personality styles here is going to be an issue. So she then tells him this story, which I'm, yeah, a sad story. I don't understand the purpose of the story in this situation, because he's talking about not feeling abandoned, not feeling like he's worthy. And you're telling this story that I feel like this has nothing to do with what he just said. It's just another story about your childhood, which again is a sad childhood, and I understand that. And yes, shapes you to who you are today. But is there something else that you could say to me that, or to him, that is the reason for why you are the way you are? That makes sense. But nonetheless, she says that when she was 12 years old, it's actually on her birthday, she had to basically make sure that her stepdad was breathing after he had taken pills, or maybe attempted to OD, I don't know. But after taking pills, and this again was on her 12th birthday. And she says that she wrote this letter to her parents, which again, she's 12. I don't know how much of a letter this was, um, or what, but I don't want to question her story and the life she lived as a child, but I do a little bit. But she says she wrote this letter to her parents, basically saying it's me or the drugs, and she says they basically picked the drugs. I don't think that part's surprising, unfortunately. And she's like, although that's my note. I'm unsure about the relevancy, but he says I need to, or I think, sorry, she flips the conversation from, and this part, y'all hold on to it. This part's important for her next date with Mason. She says, or asks him, like, do you need to have emotion before the physical part of the relationship? And he says, yes. And she says, yeah, me too. Okay. She says, like, sex before marriage is obviously a very big thing, being religious. But here's the thing. This part of it too made me think, huh? Only because I'm I am who I am. But I'm just like, huh? She says she was raised religious, that there was shame around talking about sex, which again, obviously makes sense in religion. However, the reason that makes me go, huh, is you're talking about the fact that your parents are drug addicts, and yet there was time for religion. They were going to church. They're talking to you about sex. Call me crazy, but I feel like when you are a drug addict, church is the last fucking place you're going to. Religion is the last thing you're thinking about. Sex before marriage is the last thing you're thinking, especially when, because this is the shame aspect of it, especially when her mother had her at 19, unplanned. And again, no shame. My mom had me at 19, unplanned. This is what I'm trying to say. My mom, as a young mom, wouldn't necessarily shame due to religion or anything like that. Because who is she to say anything? Who is any of us to say anything, especially when? So that part of it to me was just like, wait a minute, what? I feel like she's tailoring herself to the men she is talking to. Because I think Alex is somewhat religious. She's tailoring herself to him. And then we're going to see what she's about to do with Mason in a second. So she does say, whether this is true or not, does say that she didn't have sex until she was 22. I'm not going to say she's lying. I'm not saying that. But I'm not. I'm going to trust her on that one, that happened. It doesn't even matter. Even if you are a sexual person, doesn't mean you were necessarily a late bloomer. It doesn't mean anything. But it's just, yeah. So she says that. And she says, so she does say that she doesn't want to talk about marriage or the prospect of that without first talking about those heavy things. He then says, and this is how you're like, ooh, I think he might be out. Because he says, okay, well, I think, maybe we should wait a few dates before going into all of that. After he literally had the longest pause in history before he even said that. And he kind of says, like, I did come into here initially thinking that you were my strongest connection. But with the attachment styles, I think I need to give it some thought. He is second guessing because I think he's being realistic. Like, he's like, if our attachment styles are not the same or if there's not room for improvement, then like this isn't going to work. And he says, like, did we potentially connect here because we're similar to what we are used to in the real world? And I think that's really, really telling for him to say that, and he kind of realize, like, maybe I'm just attached to you because we're just doing what we normally do. So that was interesting. And I do wonder if he's gonna back out with her. And honestly, I think he might have to. I want him happy. So then we see her with Mason, and here's when I'm like, wait, the fuck is going on? They talk about who each other would be in movies. It's cute. He says like she says that he would be like the romantic hero. He says that you'd be the villain, and I said, And she says, well, I have dealt with jealous people before, and I usually like to make it worse if I know that they're jealous. So you're a bitch. Like, seriously, it's like this weird thing where she's talking about being nice and all of this, and like, I'm like a cool girl and I'm an artiste and all of this nonsense and like whatever. But then at the same breath, you're like, well, if I know you're jealous of me, then it's gonna make it worse. Who are you? Like, where did this come from? Anyway, hmm, then we started talking. She was bringing up the fact of the dress that she's currently wearing. And she's like, "Oh, it's short." And he's like, "Oh, really?" And then she's like, "Yeah, I was wearing like a mini dress another day." And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And then she starts talking about, I would give you lap dances. And guess what? I have like a secret about my nipples. You want to know what? What? She says she has pierced nipples, which, whatever, fine. Wait a minute. Wasn't it not 2 seconds ago with Alex that you were literally saying, oh, sex was a shameful thing because of religion? And, I was a late bloomer and like I need to have the emotional connection before all this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you seem very reserved when it comes to sex with him, with Alex. With Mason, total opposite. Because Mason seems like a pretty sexual person, or at least is comfortable expressing himself sexually. She is tailoring herself to the men she is talking to. And does that make you authentic? I don't think so, personally. So it's just, I'm watching this and I'm like, what is going on? It's crazy. And then they basically talk about the fact that he can't say analytical. He says like analytical or something like that. And then she can't say infuriated. She says infuriated or something like that. I don't know what the hell she said because I know how to say the word. So anyways, then we see Mason with Meg, and he asks her about, what's your favorite Halloween costume? And I'm like, wait, the fuck? I'm like, was it him that asked the question before? Yeah. He likes to ask the question about Halloween costumes, but she says that she was Gwen Stefani. That's cool. And they both believe in reincarnation, which I do too. I know in Catholicism they say reincarnation isn't real, that you're gonna have or eternal life or everlasting life or whatever the hell term they use, with Jesus Christ our Savior. But I don't personally believe in that. I believe we do get reincarnated. So that's what she believes, that she wants to be reincarnated as a butterfly because she likes butterflies. And he says, you know what? I want to be reincarnated as a dolphin, be the good guy of the sea. And she's like, yeah. And sex is still enjoyable as a dolphin. All right. So Meg goes back to the quarters and she's saying, I know I'm not his top choice. Like, my number one is not, I'm not his top. Because she says the reason why she knows this and is actually she's paying attention. She kind of says that he said to her, which I didn't say it before, was that he said, like, I'm really into you, but like, it's confusing. And she's like, why would it be confusing? Because I'm not confused. Just say you like me, unless for whatever reason you can't because you're into someone else. So then we end off the episode with the reveal between Monica and Joey. We see those doors open, and that's where the episode ends. And that's where this episode ends. Oh boy, guys, again, I'm only on episode, or just finished episode 2. I have not started episode 3 yet. But these episodes are looking real good, and I'm real excited. But that is that. That is it for this episode. So I think the next episode you can expect is going to be Last Resort. And then we'll get back to Love is Blind again. But yeah, I think that's about right. So yeah, that is that. We are going to be catching up with Bachelor I know I'm probably about 4 or 5 weeks behind at this point. I don't know how I'm doing it yet, but, yeah, so I will be getting up to that. Married at First Sight is taking a back seat currently, but I kind of will come in at some point and kind of just talk about thoughts and feelings about either the season or throughout, but we'll kind of see how that goes. But that's that. That is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there. And you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.